Would you sleep sitting up every single night for 10 years? No bed, no pillow, no blanket, just your spine, the ground, and silence. 2,000 years ago, a Roman slave named Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Today, a Vietnamese monk named Minh Thuy is living those words barefoot across two continents. Welcome back to the Minh Thuy channel, where we explore ancient wisdom for the modern soul. Minh Thuy is not your typical monk. He doesn't live in a temple. He doesn't belong to any organization. He gave up his career as a land surveyor in 2015, walked into the mountains, and never looked back. He follows 13 ancient rules called the Dutunga, the most extreme form of Buddhist discipline. He eats one meal a day, before noon. He sleeps sitting up. He wears robes stitched together from discarded cloth. He owns a bowl, a water filter, and nothing else. And here's what makes him different from every discipline guru on the internet. He doesn't sell anything. He doesn't have a cause. He doesn't want followers. In a recent Dharma sharing, he told the people around him,
Muốn diệt khổ thì tứ thánh đế Phật nói rất rõ cho mình. Khổ tập, khổ diệt, con đường đưa đến khổ diệt. Chỉ nói những cái đấy con là nói rồi tất cả. Những cái đấy như con là tập học cho những người tu hành. Ở đây là tập thôi chứ cũng không gọi là nói khổ hạnh hay là cái gì, nhưng mà theo mà trong những cái hạnh mà tu hành là có hạnh ở nơi đất trống chứ.
That humility is the discipline, and it connects to something the ancient Stoics understood deeply. Lesson 1. Discipline equals freedom. Epictetus was born a slave in Rome. He was beaten so badly his leg was permanently broken. And yet, he wrote some of the most powerful words about freedom ever recorded. No man is free who is not master of himself. Think about that, a man in literal chains, saying freedom starts from within. Now look at Monk Minh Thuy. Dutunga rule number 1. Eat only what is placed in your bowl. He doesn't choose his food, he doesn't ask for seconds. Whatever is given, rice, vegetables, just broth, he eats it. One meal, done. Most of us can't skip breakfast without complaining. This man has eaten one meal a day for a decade. During his Dharma talk, Monk Minh Thuy explained,
Hoặc là có nhiều người họ thỏa mãn đầy đủ sắc dục, nhưng mà họ cũng không được, họ vẫn bệnh tật, họ không được, họ vẫn đau khổ. Nhưng với lại họ mà có thỏa mãn về chơi ảo hải vị thì họ cũng bệnh, nên là cũng không được bất an. Nên là làm cái điều trị bỏ, giảm bớt thì con thấy được an lạc rất là nhiều.
Why this isn't punishment, it's liberation. When you stop chasing what your body craves, your mind becomes quiet. He said that craving is the root of restlessness. Remove the craving, and what remains is peace. The Stoics called this precise attention to what is in your control. Monk Minh Thuy calls it right mindfulness. Different words, same freedom. Lesson 2. The obstacle is the way. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, wrote in his private journal, "What stands in the way becomes the way." Monk Minh Thuy lives this every single day. In December 2024, he started walking from Vietnam to India, the land of the Buddha, barefoot, through Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, Nepal, thousands of kilometers. He walked through monsoon mud that sucked at his feet. He walked through 40-degree heat that cracked the road. When his route through Myanmar was blocked, he didn't complain, he found another way. When asked about hardship on the road, Monk said, "Difficulty is the best Dharma lesson." He explained that comfort puts the mind to sleep, while hardship wakes it up. Every obstacle is the teaching itself. A Roman emperor and a barefoot monk arriving at the exact same truth. Suffering is not the enemy of progress. Suffering is the progress. The next time something goes wrong, don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this teaching me? Lesson 3. Voluntary hardships. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, had a strange habit. Once a month, he would sleep on the floor, eat the cheapest food, and wear rough clothing. He called it premeditatio malorum, rehearsing misfortune. If you never practice discomfort, comfort becomes your prison. Monk Mintui lives hardship permanently. Dutanga rule number 9, sleep sitting up. Never lying down, every night for 10 years. Monk explained the reason behind these practices. Attachment to comfort is the most subtle chain.
Cho dù mọi người ở đời khắp thế gian mà không làm tìm mà đạt được tìm giải, gọi là hưởng đầy đủ ngũ dục thì vẫn bị khổ. Nếu mà không tìm, mọi người cứ tìm đến những người đó, họ không thành mà sẽ nhìn thấy thôi. Có nhiều người đạt được nhiều tiền, nhưng họ vẫn không được an lạc hạnh phúc, hay là họ đạt được chức quyền, danh địa vị ở trong xã hội, họ cũng không được an lạc, an vui, họ vẫn lo lắng bất an.
Everyone fears suffering, but it is the fear of suffering itself that is the suffering. East and West, Buddhist and Stoic, 2,000 years apart. Same truth. Try one voluntary hardship this week. Cold shower for 60 seconds, skip one meal, sleep without your pillow. Prove to yourself that comfort is optional. East meets West. Discipline is not restriction. Discipline is the only real freedom. Monk was asked how he defines success. His answer was simple: no greed, no anger, no delusion. 3 things to remove, not 3 things to achieve. The Stoics called it apatheia, freedom from destructive passions. The Buddhists call it the end of the 3 poisons. Same map, different languages. What am I a slave to? Your phone, your comfort. Name it, then practice living without it, even for a day. If this story made you rethink discipline, hit subscribe. Vietnamese Mintui. I'm documenting Monk Mintui's his entire pilgrimage from Vietnam to India and the ancient philosophy behind every step. Drop a comment below. What's the one comfort you'd be willing to give up for 30 days?
Every morning, after his meal, he walks to the place where people burn their dead. He doesn't go to pray, he goes to collect fabric. Then he sews it into the robe he wears every day. His name is Vietnamese Mintui. He has walked over 10,000 kilometers, barefoot. He owns nothing. Sleeps on the ground. Eats once a day. But here's what no one tells you. Every single thing he does, down to where he sleeps, what he eats, and whose fabric he wears, is governed by a 2,500-year-old set of 13 rules. Rules so precise, so demanding, that Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the Roman world, practiced the same principles in private. Today we ask, why would the strictest Buddhist monks and Stoic emperors choose the exact same disciplines? And what does that reveal about the human mind? What is Dutanga? The word is Dutanga. It comes from Pali, the sacred language of Theravada Buddhism, and it appears in the Tipitaka, the oldest written record of the Buddha's actual teachings. Theravada, the oldest surviving school of Buddhism, has preserved this word almost exactly as it was spoken 25 centuries ago. Dutanga means 13 voluntary, extreme, ascetic practices designed not to punish the body, but to train the mind toward one single goal: liberation from suffering. These are not religious rituals. They are a psychological technology. Nepal Weekly Real World Proof in March 2026, an international publication. Nepal Weekly documented exactly what Thich Minh Tui was doing in Kathmandu, at Pasupati, at Swayambhu, at Bada. He and his fellow monks walked to the cremation ghats and collected fabric left behind from funeral rites. Then they sewed it into robes.
Họ nói 13 hành đầu là áo vải người ta con bỏ. Mình mang cái áo đấy thì con thấy cái hạnh đó không có tội lỗi, mà phù hợp với con, không có tỳ phú, không phải xin ai cả, tự ra ngoài người ta con bỏ cái quần, cái áo nhặt thì con thấy không có tội lỗi, không có lỗi lầm và thiết thực. Đúng vải con thấy là giàu có, dần dần có khi đi nhặt được vải tốt, có khi nhặt được không tốt lắm nhưng mà cũng tận dụng được. Con thấy là nó gọi là giải quyết cho mình, gọi là cái y áo, cái áo, nói chung là để mà che thân, với lại để nét văn hóa, với lại ấm, mình có thể nhờ đó mà mình an trú vào cái đời sống cùng giống như
hỏi hay là đi nhặt vải ở ngoài họ vứt cái gì thì mình nhặt, cái đâu có đòi hỏi phải vải trắng rồi để về mình nhuộm đâu, và cái nào ở đây là được vải bền chắc mà còn chắc chắn mà tốt thì màu nào thì con dùng màu đấy, thì nên là con không có phân biệt. Còn mà
This is Dutanga practice number 1. Wearing a robe made from discarded cloth. Not because they have to, because they choose to. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote this in his private journal, not for publication, not for reputation, for himself. Deprive yourself of comfortable things. Train yourself to endure what you think you cannot. He slept on a soldier's cot. He ate the same rations as the men under his command. He wore the same military cloak in winter that ordinary soldiers wore, despite being the wealthiest person alive. To men, to traditions, 2,000 years apart. Same practice. Voluntary discomfort, not as punishment, as training. Theravada teaches 3 fundamental truths about reality. The Pali Canon calls them the 3 marks of existence. Everything is impermanent. Everything involves suffering. Nothing has a fixed self. Now listen to how the Stoics said the same thing. Marcus Aurelius. Everything is fleeting. Flame, smoke, dust. That's impermanence. Epictetus. Some things are within our control. Some are not. That's the teaching on suffering. It comes from clinging to what we cannot control. You are not your possessions, your reputation, your body. That is the Stoic teaching on the self. 3 marks, 3 pillars, same map, different languages. Here's what's interesting. Theravada Buddhism survived 2,500 years. Stoicism survived 2,000 years. Both were suppressed. Both came back. Why do the most demanding philosophies survive the longest? The answer is in how they train the mind. And there is one specific practice Thich Minh Tui does every morning that behavioral scientists now call a keystone habit. We'll get there in 90 seconds. Why Theravada survived. The Buddha's original teachings spread across Asia in many forms. Some schools simplified, some adapted, some merged with local cultures until the original was unrecognizable. Theravada held the line. It preserved the Pali language. It maintained the Vinaya, the monastic code, almost word for word, across 25 centuries. It survived because it had a technology for training the mind that actually worked. Stoicism did the same. It didn't survive because it was popular. It survived because it produced results. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, born into radically different circumstances, both transformed by the same practice. Disciplines that survive 2,000 years are not beliefs, they are proven systems. Here is the one practice, taken from Dhutanga, proven by Stoicism, that you can test this week. Pick one comfortable thing you rely on. Not your phone, not coffee, something physical, a pillow, a chair, a meal you eat out of pure habit. Remove it for 7 days. This is voluntary discomfort. Practice number 1 of the 13 Dhutangas. Marcus Aurelius called it voluntary hardship training. Watch what happens to your mind when that thing is gone. The Pali Canon asks, is this the Buddha's actual path? The answer is, it doesn't matter which tradition you come from. The practice reveals the same truth. What you think you need, you don't, and what you believe you cannot live without. That is exactly where your liberation begins. This morning, Thich Minh Tui walked to a cremation ground. He collected fabric that others threw away. He will sew it into the robe he wears tomorrow. He doesn't need a monastery. He doesn't need recognition. He doesn't need anything. And that is the most radical discipline of all. This is the first episode of a series where we'll map every one of the 13 Dhutanga practices to a Stoic principle and show you what each one looks like in real life. Next week, why eating one meal a day changes how you think, not how you look. If this reached you, share it with one person.